I go on the air because I gotta complain about this for a little bit. Okay, wait a minute.
Boy.
I gotta turn on my light because I have furniture now.
Ooh.
I'm on my sofa, well, it's actually my love seat but I'm
We're
not
live.
But I'm not gonna complain about that because I have my new coffee table and my end tables and my lamps and this chair and this sofa love seat thingy-mabobber. But anyway. Anyhow,
Nice.
but that's not what I was going to complain about because we when we came on, we were in the middle of discussing baseball cards.
Yes.
Because it's baseball season. Hint: the Cubs have already won their division.
Yes, the Cubs
already. So, yay! Whatever. I used to be a Cubs fan, but now baseball, I'm just like, as long as it's not the Yankees, because I don't like them. Because they cheat and they have too much high payroll. But most of their players now are like elderly and for the senior home. So, hit A-Rod. Anyway, so.
Wow.
Well, his career pretty much was ruined because he took drugs. Anyway, so back to baseball cards because I'm getting rid of my baseball cards tomorrow. And luckily, it's not going to be pouring down rain like it was last night, early this morning when we had a torrential downpour. But anyhow, I digress. So I'm getting rid of my baseball cards. And then I have all these baseball cards because I'm selling them in because they're all the same. All the cards are out of the packs and whatnot, which is the big mistake. But then you don't know what you have. So anyway, and we're counting them, and I'm putting them into things with my mother, and we're putting them in like packs of 100 or about 105 or something that will sell for $1 because I had to price them all because if it's worth like a 2 cents or something, I'll make them a penny and just get rid of them or something. You know what I mean? So then I did that for penny cards, 2-cent cards, 5-cent cards, whatever. In all that time, you would think I would have lost like several baseball cards in the process of counting and doing all this stuff. I lost one baseball card, and I've not found it. And this is one of the expensive cards. It's only worth 15 cents, but it's 15 cents. And it's Jeff Bagwell. And I'm very angry that I have not found my Jeff Bagwell. I have found.
Okay, I like Jeff Bagwell. I'm sorry, I like him.
No, because I like him for the fact that he was worth 15 cents. But this is what makes me mad. Because the Jeff Bagwell card went missing. I have like 30 or 40 Jeff Bagwells from different things, including Jeff Bagwell's rookie card.
I have a Jeff Bagwell upper deck rookie card.
Well, that's nice. Anyway, I have Albert Pujols' rookie card.
Ooh.
Yeah, you better come early if you want it. Anyway, I used it. But then this, and we're going to get to weather because this is a weather show, the enormous UFO Extreme Super Duper Show number 14 or whatever the heck. But because we talked about weather, because it's baseball. Baseball's ending because it's going to be snowing soon. Oh, and then I'm going to get to that later about snow. And then Tropical Storm Julia, a.k.a. why did they name it? Anyhow, because I'm going to complain about that because it's still a tropical storm. It looks like a little low cloud swirl. Good grief. The storm last night could have been Tropical Storm Julia, and it would have done better. Anyway. But I digress. Anything, it goes back to what I used to say. Anything, if it spins in the Atlantic, they'll name it because they want to have 500 named storms so they can be like, "Ew, global warming." Anyway, back to what I was talking about baseball. I think baseball cards. So I have I'm selling my baseball cards. I've only sold one baseball card ever.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Ichiro's rookie card.
Really?
The 2001 Topps rookie card for Ichiro, which was worth at the time $750. How much is it worth today? $750. It has gone up or down in price. I sold that in 2002. Ichiro still plays. He plays for the Marlins now. It's nearing the end of his career.
You would think it'd be worth more.
Well, Albert Pujols' rookie card, depending on which ones you get, I'll just say this for the benefit of everybody. Albert Pujols' rookie card is not the most expensive card I have in my garage, my baseball card sale. That little tidbit is saved for Mark McGwire.
Mark McGwire rookie?
I have a reprint, which is not worth very much, but the card in question is an artist proof card of Mark McGwire from 1998, and it's worth let's just say quite a bit of money.
I think I know which card you're talking about, and that's, yeah.
Well, you'd have to see. I'd have to go downstairs and get it, because right now all my baseball cards are in the house because they've been at my mom's house. But because we get to just open the garage door and say, "Come buy my cards. If you're not going to buy my cards, get off my property." Or I tell them mow my lawn because I have to mow my lawn. But that brings up another story. I can't really mow my lawn when I had 1.5 inches of rain yesterday this morning.
This is true.
Because I have turbo mower. It doesn't want to mow grass. It just wants to rip grass and throw dirt everywhere. So my grass needs to be mowed. I'm probably not going to be able to mow it until Sunday because it's going to need to dry out for several days.
That's if it doesn't rain anymore.
It's not supposed to rain until possibly Monday, but the chances aren't that great. And then later next week. We'll see. But we went with the baseball cards. I'm selling them, blah, blah, blah. So that's where I'm at right now. Oh, and then I became a year older because my birthday was yesterday, but whatever.
Yay.
Ooh, excuse me. Which brings me to this, and I'm going to go off this because I'm not letting Matt talk, but I think he knows that when I go on these rants and wild tirades that it's hard for me to stop.
Just let him go. Let him go.
I was talking about snow. Well, I was driving around because I had to drive around because my mom was parked in my driveway and I had to back out to let her out. So I just drove around. I drove out to Amber today. Okay?
Okay.
What do I see in Amber? A snowplow with its blades out, all ready at the front. It's one of those big county or even DOT type truck things, the big orange things. It had the side blade on the side and the front blade attached. And I'm thinking, is there snow predicted? I saw that and thought, what? There people think there'd be snow coming because it may be the only plow in the state of Iowa that's actually prepared for snow right now. And it's September 16th when we're doing this show. And I saw that today and I thought they are out of their mind when this week the temperatures are going to be in the 70s to low 80s for the next 7 days. Unless they see something coming a week or two after that where we're going to get something, but
well, there are a few models that are pointing towards snow early in celestial fall. You know, going into like the second, third week of October time frame.
So
not much. I wouldn't call it get the snow plows out snow, but I think if that model holds true, then we could see flakes falling. I don't think they'll stick because the ground will be far too warm still, I believe, but we could see some flakes falling.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is prepared for flakes yet. I mean, I think a lot of people have finally gotten to the point that they're finally seeing that it's not warm anymore. You're not going to have the hot, humid weather of summer anymore. You'll have warm days, but it's not going to be as humid as it was in July, August. Those days are gone because the corn has now started turning brown. It's nearing harvest time. the errors of 70-degree dew points are gone. You'll be lucky. A humid day now would be a dew point in the mid to low to mid 60s.
Correct.
Which today the dew points were in the low 60s today because we'd had so much rain the day before.
Yes, sir.
Or the last night. So that's the worst it's going to get. And nobody complains when it's the 60-degree dew point in July. Everybody's like, it's wonderful, pleasant. Everybody's outside having a good old time. So yeah, it's going to be cool this weekend, though, because I saw lows will be in the low to mid-50s. That's going to be very pleasant.
That will feel wonderful.
Yeah, it'll be a good day to open the windows, but not me, because if I open my windows, I'm probably going to end up with bugs.
And not me either, because if I open my windows, then I'll have drunk people.
Okay. They're going to come out. I don't want to understand what that means, but the people are climbing.
The people standing outside the bars smoking and being loud.
Oh, that happens. That happens all the time.
Exactly.
They're like, okay, whatever. Oh, hi, Jenny. Anyway.
Or they're trying very, very hard to sing karaoke.
Oh, yeah. I drove past the corner when I was coming back from looking at lightning last night, and I drove past where you live, well, the corner, and they were playing music at Hot Shots, and I swear I heard very bad karaoke. I thought, oh, God.
Yep. You did hear karaoke last night at Hot Shots.
Yeah, and it wasn't good.
Somebody tried singing Benny and the Jets by Elton John.
Uh-oh.
That's the bravest rendition of Benny and the Jets I had ever heard.
Hi, Benny, yes. Maybe they need to get Benny to be the quarterback of the Jets.
Okay.
Or any other NFL team that needs a quarterback, like pretty much anybody that's, well, I don't like NFL that much because they're, I watch it very irregularly, but anyway.
Let's just say I'm going to be watching it much less this year than any other year.
Because of?
I don't want to turn this into political brains.
Uh-oh.
No, I really don't. Because, yeah, I could get myself in some real trouble.
That means does it involve a team from the NFC?
Actually, I'm not sure.
Okay, well then we don't. Does it happen to involve a team that just moved?
No.
Okay, then it doesn't involve the Rams.
Correct.
Given the fact that everybody, they're playing. I think they're playing their first home game this week because they played at San Francisco. Well, they showed up. Whether they played isn't.
Yeah, that's a whole different story.
The only exciting thing that happened in that game was the drunk guy.
Yeah.
And
that's very true.
Kevin Harlan's call on the radio, which is hilarious because I've listened to it several times. But I don't think, and we're going off basis because I think we've gone 10 minutes and haven't talked about weather. But with Tropical Storm Julia, I want to bitch about this more. I'm like, la 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 la, because I'm like, la 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 last week, earlier this week, la la la, they had an invest on a storm right along the Florida coast. I was like, on that. Okay?
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. Then they just named it out of the blue. Oh, it's Julia now. It was over land. Okay. And I'm like, okay, first
Did it intensify at all?
No, first things first. I thought, okay, that's interesting. Now, the second thing I thought of is, since when did the Hurricane Center have rights to storms forming over land?
Right.
Because I'd say, well, heck, this mid-latitude storm should have been Tropical Storm Julia because it dumped tropical rain and it was swirling, so why didn't you name it? It's over land. Well, so was Tropical Storm Julia, but you named that. So I think there's some kind of thing where it's almost like the Hurricane Center could say there's a tropical storm over Atlanta. Well, if it's a remnant, yes. But if it's forming over Atlanta, that's a different story.
But did it, what was I trying to say? Did it intensify at all over land? I know that hardly ever happens.
Julia, Julia is still a tropical storm now. It's stalled. It's not moving. It's still off it's barely anything. It shouldn't even be a tropical anything right now. Because right now it's a low cloud swirl just off the South Carolina, Georgia coast. It's been just meandering because there's no steering current. And it's supposed to stay there for, gosh, another 3 days or something like that.
Yikes.
But the storm, when they named it, it's like, it's Julia. And I was like, okay, that's all well and fine. It was like inland by about 15 miles. And it looked like it had been inland for quite a while, maybe like at least a couple of hours.
Okay.
It was sheared badly. There was nothing on the western semicircle at all. Hardly any clouds.
Wow.
It was all sheared to the east, and it stayed that way, and it still is that way. It never really got itself together, from what I could tell. I think when it got back out over the ocean, it should have then been tropical, which it's still been. But
it was sheared, but there's still convection forming.
There was convection
near the center.
On the center, but it was getting sheared so badly. It was, but you can see the low cloud swirl now, and you can see there's a nice, good low-level center. But so whether or not they named or not, it just seems to be a little bit suspicious that the Hurricane Center kind of would overstep their bounds to name something that wasn't technically in what I would consider their area of responsibility. It's close enough, but that's almost like saying that the Weather Service in Des Moines can issue a tornado warning in Benton County because, well, it's close enough to our area, so we'll just issue it.
Pretty sure NWS Quad Cities would take quite the issue with that.
Well, so I don't know. It's neither here nor there. The Hurricane Center at least did something. It did go back out over the ocean. It did look a little bit better. It would have been named regardless. It just seemed to be that maybe it should have been named maybe like earlier because it still looked about the same as it did slightly before to after it had been named. But, and while that's taking place, while that storm is doing the wandering of the southeast, we have Carl in the middle of the Atlantic, tropical storm. Ian is gone. It's now finally started to it's now way out. They issued their last advisory earlier today.
Yes.
It's flown.
It's kaput.
Well, it's not kaput. It's just not tropical anymore.
Right.
It's now way up. It's moving far away. Anyway, so Carl's the next one. I don't know if that will probably be a recurve. It's already nearing 20 north, and it's not to the leewards yet, the leewards and windwards.
Wow. Yeah.
My guess is when a storm, and this is how I always do it with tropical systems that form out that far. If it's the Cabo Verde storm, not Cape Verde, Cabo Verde. We learned that last year. If it's one of them type storms, if it's getting close to 20 north before it gets to the windwards, it's likely going to be a recurve. It's already nearing 20 north now. Unless there's a big dominant high pressure like the Bermuda High starts to push back to the west, Carl's probably likely going to be a recurve. I'm not saying it's totally possible that it may not, but there's a decent chance once it gets above 20 it's before. Now, if it gets to 20 and it's at the leewards or the windwards, then it may have a chance to become one of those East Coast runner type storms.
Yes.
Which can be just annoyingly nasty, especially because Irene was a really bad East Coast runner hurricane several years ago.
Yes. I remember that storm well.
But anyway, and then there's the system in the Eastern Pacific, but it's dying. So and there's going to be a new system forming in the Eastern Pacific, which would get the P name, which I don't know offhand because I don't have it in front of me.
How did Taiwan fare after they got hit with their Category 5 monster?
It hit a small island south of Taiwan, and I'd have to think because I saw some stuff on that, but
that was a very impressive looking storm. That was as impressive, if not more, than last year's or Haiyan.
Haiyan from about 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was 13, I believe, or 14.
Yeah. But yeah, it had a good. What was the name of that storm? The storm name. God, I'd have to, and I have it. It's on my Twitter thing, but come on.
I'm trying to bring it up as well.
Oh, while I'm thinking about it. And while I'm thinking about it, Hurricane Ivan made landfall 12 years ago today.
Okay, I have something that we need. This is very strange. This is the first time I've ever seen this before.
Uh-oh.
I went onto Twitter, the app, and I activated the Twitter search function. And I have it set up where when you open up the search function, it brings up like the top like 15 or 20 hashtags or search criteria.
Yeah.
Here are all of them in order. Chiefs, UFC 203, Vikings, hashtag GoPackGo, hashtag NYG versus DAL, that's the Giants versus Dallas, hashtag Bears, number 6, 7, Packers, 8, hashtag Hillary's Health, 9, hashtag Raiders, 10, hashtag Giants Pride, 11, hashtag Raider Nation, 12, hashtag Cowboys Nation, 13, hashtag NFL Sunday, 14, Colts, 15, hashtag Go Hawks, 16, hashtag Seahawks, 17, Kenny Stills, 18, hashtag Fly Eagles Fly, 19, hashtag Lions, 20, Chargers.
Okay. It's all
exactly. I have never seen in all football top 20 on Twitter.
Yeah. I
have the name. Itbayat. Typhoon Itbayat. Oh wait, no, that's the island it hit. I apologize. Typhoon Malakis.
Yeah,
that's the current one.
It's funny when you're going through Twitter and you're looking at stuff, and all I'm seeing is like everybody's talking about all the weather people that I follow. They're either at a Friday night football game and showing pictures of it, aka Matt Lobhon in Mississippi.
I saw that too.
And there's people tweeting severe thunderstorm warnings in Oklahoma, and there's severe thunderstorm warnings in Illinois, and there's bad weather that's going to take place in Texas tomorrow. Great weather for I mean, and it keeps going. And I got the 7-day forecast for cities in Missouri. I just had like 20 tweets in a row, and they were all from weather people. all from TV meteorologists. So I think about 80% of them were all TV people, and at least they're all TV people, and at least 80% of them have been on the show, on the Polygon show before.
Nice.
I don't need
the really intense one. The super typhoon was Meranti, Meranti.
Yeah.
I have to say that the eye itself is probably the most symmetrical eye I've ever seen.
Yeah, I saw several things from the Himawari satellite of that when they showed it, and you can actually look inside the eye, and you can see the little clouds in the eye just twirling around.
Yeah.
The thing is, it looks beautiful, but technically you don't want it to be beautiful. You want it to look sucky and crappy, because that means it's weakening, or it could be going through an eye wall replacement.
Right.
I don't think that storm in the Western Pacific, the whatever it is that you said.
Meranti,
that name. Replace it, please. Anyway, that it ever went through when it was at its intensest. I don't think that's a word. Most
peak intensity. It's peak intensity.
Yeah, when it was at its peak, that it never went through an eye wall replacement for a long period of time. It was pretty solid, that it looked that nice and symmetrical. Almost had the arena type effect where it was kind of the bowl out type thing. So
I'm about to send you a picture of this, and I think this kind of tells the whole story of Vitbayat, or of Meranti.
Yeah, Meranti. We're getting our things mixed up between the island it hit, south of Taiwan, and and cars are driving over my walnuts outside. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's the picture I've seen, which I will then immediately do this. So just a second, I'm going to try something.
You gonna try a screen share or something?
I'm going to screen share the picture you just sent me.
Right.
So let me make sure. Okay. I want to make sure that we're doing this right. Boom, 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 boom.
Just be sure to turn your camera on. I guess you don't have to, technically.
So see, this is what you can see it here, because I took the picture that you sent. Now you can see how right here that see. Oh wait.
Hey, you can show that other one.
Oh yes,
immediately to the left.
But you can wait a minute. Let me.
There we go.
Yeah. See. Well, this is what makes this sad. Is you don't want it to look less nice. You want it to look crappy, but you can see the razor sharpness and the outflow. See it coming out like that. Like that.
That's just about as close to meteorological perfection as you can get in a tropical hurricane.
I see an imperfection right here. This doesn't look good right here. we're being cynical because the storm did do a lot of damage, but
you're quite literally splitting hairs because that thing pretty much raped that island.
Yeah. It's sad, but
when you see something look that good on a weather map, it usually means disaster, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. You don't want that hitting your house.
No.
I don't think you want it on any it pretty much would be like a tornado that's 50 miles wide, an EF5.
Exactly, a 50-mile wide EF5 tornado.
That would wipe everything. And that storm was what, at a 180 something, gusting to 215 or 220?
The last report I saw was maximum sustained at 185 with gusts to 230.
Yeah, something like that. So, and Haiyan was more. Haiyan
Haiyan had maximum sustained, I believe, of 210 with gusts estimated because they couldn't get a plane out there that they could trust to go that far out to sea to measure it and come back in one piece. They satellite estimated gusts at up to 250.
Yeah, that's right. But you don't get and I'll say this. Isn't it interesting? These type of storms that you see on this picture here only occur in the Western Pacific, it seems like. Very rarely, only a few storms in the Atlantic do you ever get to look like this. One of them was Katrina.
Yes.
Katrina, not when it made landfall, because Katrina was actually in a weakening stage when it made landfall, because it was only Category 3.
Correct.
But Katrina was somewhat symmetrical like this at its peak intensity. Luckily for those that lived on the Gulf Coast, it weakened to a Category 3. It still killed over 1,000 people. But imagine, if you will, if you had that hit where it did, if you had Katrina looking like that at landfall, you would have seen a death toll that would have been double or triple the amount it ended up being.
Oh, it would have been 4,000 or 5,000, I bet.
And it would have been the biggest, and the likelihood would have probably been that New Orleans may never have been rebuilt.
I tend to agree with you with that because, yeah.
Because there's parts of New Orleans, even today, 11 years later, I've never been there, that haven't been rebuilt. And they're never going to be.
I'm contemplating taking a trip. I really am.
Well, there's a lot of places that what you'd always want to go see, because eventually what I'm going to end up doing, and this is a personal family thing, but it is related close, is that my mother wants to go visit her half-brother who lives outside of Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And if for those that would want to know this, my mother's real mother died when she was 7. Mm-hmm. My mother's 64 now. My mother's real mother had 3 children. My mother was with one man, and the other 2 were with another person. Well, then when my mother's mother died, the father, we don't know who it was. It sounds really strange. It's like a soap opera. It sounds like Jerry Springer. So my mother was adopted by the grandparents that I knew, who actually were related by marriage to my mother's uncle, who had married the grandmother that I knew. Her sister was married to my mother's real uncle. So you get that? It sounds like a soap opera. Anyway, the kids got split apart after my mother's real mother died. So my mother hadn't seen my mother's half-sister and half-brother since the late 50s.
Oh, wow.
And she didn't know where they were. Luckily enough for me, I was the one who found her half-sister living in Memphis. She lives outside of Memphis.
Wow.
And my mother has gone to see her. That was a couple years ago. My mother's half-brother lives outside of Seattle. Now, we're getting to where I'm talking about when we're getting back to this. But anyway, and let me take that off, or take me off, because nobody wants to look at me. Anyway, when you were talking about going to New Orleans, what I would want to do, since I'm looking at possibly going to Seattle with my mother, because my mother would want support, and I didn't go with her to Memphis. Mm-hmm. He went with somebody else. But my mother would want me to go up there.
Right.
But what I would almost want to do is go see Mount St. Helens.
Oh, cool.
Which is outside of Portland.
Mm-hmm.
It's between Portland and Seattle. I would love to see that and see Mount Rainier. Because I'd love to see...
If you are in Yakima, Washington, you can... I did some training at the Yakima Training Center which is part of the Washington National Guard's training facility system. And if you're on the highest point in that area, on that Army base, you can look to one side and see Mount St. Helens, and look to the other side. Look to your left, you see Mount St. Helens. Look to your right, you see Mount Rainier.
Now, from that far, you'd see them.
Yep.
I just love to because I've never been to the Northwest. I've been to Los Angeles twice.
Right. That's not exactly Northwest.
No. But I'd also like to go to Alaska, but it's too expensive to fly there.
Agreed.
And you have to drive through Canada to get there by car, which you can get there by car, but anyway, so but yeah, New Orleans would be interesting. Excuse me. Going to Mount St. Helens, it's not the same thing because weather didn't cause Mount St. Helens to explode.
Right.
But I always love to go see old tornado tracks. I was okay, and this is weather related, but I'll bring this up. Okay, we've talked many a time about the April 27th outbreak, which I've mentioned several times, April 27th, 2011. And when I went down there for Storm Alert Extreme in 2011 and 2012, I went in 2011 specifically because it was the storm training event after that event.
Mm-hmm.
And I specifically went there for that reason. I also specifically wanted to see the damage for myself. Mm-hmm. And this is November, mind you. It was still there, some of it.
Yep.
Because where they're building that interchange north of downtown Birmingham, which is nearing completion, I think it may have already been completed.
Oh, the very tail end of I-22?
Yes.
Yep.
The tornado actually, the Birmingham-Tuscaloosa tornado, actually crossed Interstate 65 at that interchange.
Oh.
That's where it crossed. So they didn't have to tear the trees down. The tornado did it for them. So it's like, yay, money saved. I don't think the people that died in that tornado, all 65, weren't too thrilled.
Yeah, I would probably agree.
But they had all these big towering light poles. You see them in Cedar Rapids. You see them in big cities. These towering light poles at interchanges, big interchanges with two interstates.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bunch of them that had been snapped and were laying on the ground in November. Why were they doing that? Because they weren't going to rebuild them because they were building the interchange. They stayed that way. Even in 2012, they were still on the ground.
Wow.
And then eventually they were taken away because they had to redo the roads anyway. So there was no sense in putting them back up when they were going to have to take them back down anyway. Right. It didn't make sense to. So, but you could see the trees. You could still see, especially in areas, for the next couple of years, you would see the trees down where there was really bad damage, even from 2011. Mm-hmm. It's been 5 years. But this brings back to the point of another outbreak we've always mentioned, the super outbreak of 74.
Correct.
This brings back to where I was talking about. When I was going to my first NASCAR race I ever went to, which was in Talladega, we drove there.
Okay.
No, we drove the second time. The first time we flew. No, we flew, drove. No, we flew. No, what did we do? I don't remember. No, we drove there because I remember there was a big fight afterwards. Anyway.
Oh boy.
Anywho, it was in April. So you know what happens with me? I have to bring the weather radio. But anyway, I digress. We stayed the night in Indianapolis. And then we were going to drive the first night and then drive down to our hotel, which was in Decatur, outside of Huntsville. So what I did was we drove through Louisville. Now, if you remember, kind people, that you would know that Louisville had a tornado on April 3rd and 4th, 1974. And that tornado did cross Interstate 65 on the south side of town by what was Freedom Hall, or at that time known as Kentucky Convention Exposition Center.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit and it destroyed. So the minute that I saw that, I was like, ooh! I was taking video with my video camera because I had a camcorder at the time. I was like, ooh! This is where there was a tornado. 2002, mind you. And I'm taking video of a tornado path from 28 years ago at the time. And I was getting all giddy because I was crossing a tornado path. And I did that every time. You could always see the tornado paths because I'm always interested in those things. And so I did that for 2011 too, because we drove down from Memphis on 22 to Birmingham. It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
But I'll just mention it was Interstate 22.
Yeah, it was called Corridor X at the time, wasn't it?
What?
At the time, it was called Corridor X, wasn't it?
It still is. It still will be. Even it's just named as such. That's for the federal highway thing to call it what the corridor is, because people still call the Avenue of the Saints the Avenue of the Saints between St. Paul and St. Louis is known as Corridor or something else, but nobody called it that. They called it the Avenue of the Saints even when it wasn't done yet. But anyway,
Right.
But we drove down. And think I'd want to go see that tornado track in Mississippi from this past December.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to see that. Was it Holly Springs? Yes, Holly Springs. That tornado path will be visible still. Tupelo's, I don't think, from a few years ago might still be, but not very much so.
From April 26, 2014, right?
I
think that was it.
No, the Tupelo was April 28th, 2014.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Holly Springs was right before Christmas of this past year.
Yes.
But yeah, that was the infamous April 28th, 2014 event, which was probably and is still what I would consider to be the strongest tornado outbreak in the South since the 2011 event. Because it was just as many nasty tornadoes, but there wasn't like a rash of them. They were kind of like ebb and flow. You would then have none, and then all of a sudden you'd have 5 or 6, and then you'd have none again. It kind of ebbed and flowed. It wasn't the same, and it started later. April 27th started early. April 28th, 2014 started about 2.5 hours later. So you had more nighttime tornadoes that were short but very violent, and then they went away. You had short, violent nighttime tornadoes. April 27th, you had violent, long-tracked daytime tornadoes. April 27th, 2011, any of the nighttime tornadoes that occurred, they weren't as long-tracked. It still killed people. There were still some fairly decent long-tracked tornadoes at night on that event up in Tennessee and into Virginia, but they didn't last as long as the 2 to 3 hour long tracks you were getting earlier in the day down in Alabama and southern Tennessee and Mississippi.
I think the only one that really stood out in my mind as far as evening or nighttime tornadoes was trying to think. It was the EF5 on the eastern side of the state.
I'm sure. There was. Are we talking about up in DeKalb County?
I believe so. Yeah.
Fife or Rainsville?
Rainsville. That's it.
The Rainsville storm occurred during the day, but it was later in the afternoon. It was about the same time as Tuscaloosa.
Oh, really? And what was the other one later at night?
Fife was the Fife storm. I think that wasn't later. There were several storms. Because the storms that occurred in DeKalb, unless you're mixing it up for the fact that April 28th, 2014, there was a bunch of tornadoes in northeast Alabama after midnight. They had like a rash of 10 or 12.
I'm talking April 27th, 2011.
April 27th, 2011, most of those there was a few of them that occurred at night, but they weren't strong. The stronger ones that occurred between up there, one of them I think had occurred from the Coleman storm. The Coleman storm had dropped another tornado that was an F5. which I think was 5. I think. I'd have to go back and look.
No, this one was more towards the south central part of the state, like more even with Atlanta than.
Oh, so you're. Oh no. Oh, okay. You're talking about the storm that had started from the. Excuse me. Okay. Blah blah blah. We'll get it right. Birmingham, Tuscaloosa tornado dropped. Yay! Storm, tornado. Boom! People died. Boo hoo. The storm lifted, then it touched down again east of Trussville, northeast of Birmingham, and that's the one you're talking about that went all the way north of Anniston and went into Georgia. That was an EF4. That killed
it crossed just after, just east of, I believe, Fort Payne. East?
No, because that storm, the one you're talking about that I think you're discussing, that one didn't go into DeKalb County at all. It got close. It went into Cherokee County and then went into Georgia. That's the one that almost hit the church that was hit Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
It nearly went through the area. It was almost a similar path to the Palm Sunday '94 storm that hit near Piedmont.
Yeah.
That's the one you're talking about. Oh, and then I'll bring this up because we're talking about this again because we're going off on a tangent. There is actually, and I did not know this, and I've known this because I've seen this video before. I have actually seen video of the Piedmont tornado from 1994.
Really?
I never knew it existed, and
Send me that link, please.
I don't know where that came from. I thought I saw it, and I'm like, and it said, the video you see, they mentioned this in the thing. They said, as you see this, it was hitting the church, the Goshen United Methodist Church, and I'm thinking, oh God,
really?
I don't think I want to see this. And it was a wedge tornado, and we got to remember. That tornado occurred in the morning, and that was a wedge tornado at like 10:30 in the morning or 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So.
Right in the middle of Palm Sunday Mass.
Well, they were in the middle of it killed the 20 people during an Easter play.
Yes.
So. And I don't know what it is because, and we talked about this when we did a Polygon show on Palm Sunday 65, but there's always like something about holidays like Palm Sunday or Easter, Memorial Day. What is it about these? It just happens a lot. I still remember back to the Super Tuesday event when there's the Super Tuesday primaries in 2008 and there was a major tornado outbreak.
Yep.
It's like, okay, we'll use political days and we'll just make them. So I can't wait till Election Day tornado outbreak. So that'll probably be the most exciting thing that occurs on Election Day. Anyhow. So, but yeah, I got to find that thing because oh gosh, where was that? That's going to drive me nuts. Now while I'm doing that, I'm going to go and look it up. Okay, I don't need that anymore. I'm hoping I'm not going to start. The problem is that if I start watching YouTube videos while I'm doing this, I'll probably end up knocking this out. So, because my internet right now has been functional for the time being.
Yeah, knock on wood, right?
Yeah, except well, this better be real wood. This is metal, but.
I'm about to say that has way too much ring to it.
So, I'm trying to think what I know it's a tornado video that it's like, and then it's one of those narrated things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'd have to go and find it, and it'll have to be after the show. But yeah.
Yes, please. Please find that for me and send that.
And I think it's the only video of that Palm Sunday ~94 event at all, of any tornado from that event. So I still like the best tornado video ever. Well, it's not even a tornado video. Best video ever. And I sent this to Weather Brains several years ago, and they went off on it. Where it's Wichita Falls, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You may have seen.
Oh, this one.
From 1964, not the 79 tornado. That's different. This is from 64, where the TV people decided to take their camera and reel it out, because we're talking about these big, humongous TV cameras from the old times.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, let's take a look. And it's like, well, and the anchor sounds so like he doesn't know what he's looking at. He's like, well, we seem to have a lot of smoke, Paul. I don't know what that is. It's a tornado forming. And then they get all excited about the tornado because they can see it first. And it was funny. It was the first tornado shown live on television. And it was and it ended up being ranked later on as an F5 tornado. So not only did you see the first tornado live, you saw the first F5 tornado live. You just didn't know it because the Fujita scale didn't come out until years later. But it was retrograded as an F5. And that storm killed several people. It killed less than the 79 storm, which was an F4.
Mm-hmm.
The F4 killed many people in their cars. The 64 storm killed more people in their house. And I'm starting to wonder if the 64 storm, like a lot of people in 79, they go running into their cars to get away from it. I digress. I have a sneaking suspicion. Wichita Falls hasn't had one since. But if they do, watch Kevin Sully, because he's there now. And he doesn't work at the station that got the first tornado. He works at the competitor. But anyway. So
that's funny.
So anyway, but yeah, that it's so bad. But and then the other night, I was bored. I had nothing to do. I decided to whack and listen to WHAS's coverage from April 3rd, 74, which is on. You can download the audio. You could listen to it all, except for 1 hour. There's 8 hours of coverage. The only hour that's missing is between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m., which is annoying because that's right after the tornado had hit, because I guess they didn't want to record that. Anyhow. But the funny thing was, and this goes back to something else, because now I'm on a tangent. I'm not letting Matt talk, so. But they have the DJ, because it's a song. It's a music station, WHAS 840, which is Clear Channel. It's owned by iHeartMedia, which we call it's Clear Channel, because it's 50,000 watt. So back then they would play music, and they would have news and all this other stuff. Anyway, so their DJ guy is out like, ooh, yay, songs and whatnot. So he's like, they're talking with the weather service out in Louisville. That was at the airport. And they're like, oh, we have a tornado warning, blah, blah, blah. And then and they got the warnings right from the weather service. The weather people would call them. It's like none of this business about beeping and, oh, everything's on and let's do automated stuff. Oh, no. They called the people, and the people then read it, and they said, and even if something was breaking weather, they would pipe in, and the guy would then say, this happened. You wouldn't need no teletype machines and whatnot. But anyway, so this goes back to...
Right.
Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, he was down in the street again with his biker people.
No. That was actually my landlord.
Uh-oh. Did you not pay your bills?
I did pay my bills. My bills are very paid up. It's actually a boo-boo that he made.
Uh-oh. Anyway, we went off topic. But anyway.
Yes.
Okay, Louisville, tornadoes. And people need to listen to this, because that and the Twin Cities 1965 outbreak, which is really good too. That's another one that goes like 6, 7 hours. But in Louisville, they're like playing music, and there's like tornado warnings. There was a tornado warning for Jefferson County, which is where Louisville is. Okay, tornado warning. Yep. So what do? Let's play music. So then this is what got me, because I almost had to laugh. There's this one song they start playing, because they had to clip the music, because so you don't get the entire song, because if you did, it was copyrighted.
Right.
Okay. So one of the songs was called "Tell Me a Lie" by Sammy Joe, and I'm like, I don't know who the heck that person is. Okay, fast forward. About a week ago, somebody posted the American Top 40 with Casey Kasem from March 30th, 1974, which would have been the weekend before the outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
And number 30 that week was "Tell Me a Lie" by Sammy Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God. Because every time that song would come up, I'd start laughing because it was so funny. Because I would be like, the DJs would be like, and here's this song, and it's now and here. And they would sound like they're trying to be cool, and they're not. And then and it's so stupid and whatnot. And then the tornado comes, and they don't play music at that time. So then tornadoes come, it's hit places, and then then they call the helicopter guy, oh, the tornado, and whatnot. So then the tornado's gone. So then they try to regroup. So what do they do to regroup? Oh, let's play music again. Now here's the side note. This is where it cuts off, and then it skips an hour. It's right when it does that. At that time, not only was the Louisville tornado, it was already out of town. It was already almost out of the county. It was moving northeast fairly quickly. All the tornadoes that day were. Even down in Alabama, the Ewan tornado was moving at least 70. Yeah. But they'd had a tornado down at Elizabethtown, which is 30, 40 miles south of Louisville, down 65, or then known as the Kentucky Turnpike. And it was on the ground, killing people, I might add, including children. So what do? Let's play music. Talk about a station that doesn't care about the people outside of Louisville. But I think they were only doing that because they only played one music thing, and I think after that they didn't do anything else. It was all weather, and news. Now here's the interesting thing, and their coverage is great about this, is that during their coverage, and this is of interest, and most people don't realize this, on April 3rd, 1974, there was a moderate earthquake that evening that was felt in the Midwest and in Louisville. And Matt's
really?
It was a 4.5.
Really?
And people called in thinking, did it have something to do with tornadoes? Nope. It just happened to be coincidental. It was one of the strongest earthquakes in the Rift Zone, the New Madrid Rift Zone. And it's still at least in the top 10 for strongest earthquakes, going back to the 1811, 1812 event. You don't get many in that area in the 4s or even in the 5s. And that's still at least in the top 10.
Yep. I agree.
You get a 4.5, and it's in Louis, and the center of it was southeast of St. Louis by 130 miles. And it was felt in Louisville and all around Louisville, and it was felt all the way down up to Indianapolis. So it was felt. So it just, and then they had to talk about that because they didn't know what that was about. So it just happened to be, I thought it was fake or something, so I had to look it up, and nope, USGS says that there was a hurricane. Earthquake. There was a hurricane. An earthquake in what was southern Illinois. So yes, everything happened that day. And then they only said one piece of news that was a news item that had nothing to do with weather, and that had to do with Patty Hearst. Because that was during the whole Sudanese Liberation Army thing, the SLA.
Right.
That was during all of that stuff. So that was the only news item they mentioned that lasted 1 minute, and then they got rid of it and went back to doing, they had people calling in and going, oh, and all this stuff. And so, but I listened to that the other night, and I like listening because radio coverage, when we listen to radio coverage, because nowadays it's like, let's just take TV because they just want to just cheap, easy. But back in those days, radio coverage was actually way better than TV coverage because TV was pretty much forced to show programming. That you couldn't really, unless there was a dire situation like here comes big tornado coming and it's going to sweep the town away.
Right.
The town, the big city, then that may be on. But back then, radio coverage was pretty much you had to call in and everybody got on and whatnot. So, but nowadays, radio coverage, everything is done automated and stuff. So it's not the same.
Right.
Kind of sad, but that's just how it is now.
Meh.
I mean, there's a few stations that I think still can do decently. I think WHO does okay, as long as there's somebody at the studio. But
Are you talking new radio or TV?
1040. 1040 still does it once in a while. If it's like a major event, I think a major event, WHO would probably. The thing is, WHO is a Clear Channel, but
Right.
it's owned by Clear Channel, aka iHeartMedia. It's Clear Channel to everybody else, but
Right.
they only seemingly think that the only people that can hear them are the people that are in the WHO TV area or the DMA of Des Moines.
Mhm.
So it's like, oh, you people in Eastern Iowa, and I'm like, we can hear you, and you yourself. But I digress. Because you can hear WHO during the day and night all over the Midwest. So,
That's true.
and I can even get WCCO out of Minneapolis during the day. Barely, but I can. At night, it kind of fuzzes in because it's on adjacent channel with WHAS in Louisville, so it gets mixed up. So, anyway, we're off on radio brains evidently now, but yeah, there's that's good. WCCO's coverage of the 65 tornado outbreak is really good. Their 81 coverage is lacking. The tornado coverage from the Fridley tornado in 86 is probably really good because it's totally hilarious because all you hear is a bunch of people looking at a tornado that ain't moving. And they're trying to describe where it is. And they're like, it's black, it's gray, it's white, it's not, it's up, it's down. And then they have like four people all then deciding to talk at once because you have four people on the phone all talking at once, talking about it's on the ground, it's spinning, oh, there's debris, oh, it's black, it's white, it's up, it's down. And they're all talking at once, and they're all in different places. And they all can see it because the tornado ain't moving. So it's like up, down, no, yes, black, white. It's funny, but then it's not. The TV coverage on that one is the best from the helicopter.
Yeah.
That is the best coverage because
Speaking
the whole newscast of that event is on YouTube. So
Please
you can
send me
watch
that link.
Yeah, you can watch the whole thing now.
Please send me that link. But speaking of breaking news, some more craziness out of Florida.
Uh-oh.
This is slightly weather related because rains from that tropical whatever could possibly have affected this. A massive sinkhole at a fertilizer plant in Mulberry, Florida has caused about 215 million gallons of radioactive water to drain down into the Floridian aquifer system, according to ABC affiliate WFTS.
Oopsie.
The aquifer system supplies drinking water to millions of Florida residents, according to the St. John's Water Management District website. Additionally, water that escapes from the aquifers creates springs used for recreational activities. The fertilizer company Mosaic wrote on its website that it discovered a sinkhole 45 feet in diameter at its New Wales facility after noticing water levels had dropped in a stack of radioactive waste known as phosphogypsum in late August.
Well, that's a problem that there's sinkholes in Florida all the time because there's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it came from Julia or not, that sinkhole was going to be there regardless.
Mm-hmm. Especially
Right.
if it's 45 feet wide.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is, now what was I going to look up? Oh, yes. Care 11. No. Okay, I don't care about the Action Center of the Twin Cities because who cares? Sorry, now I just got yelled at, I'm sure.
Whoops.
Yeah, this is almost a full broadcast, but it's not quite. But it's almost 20 some minutes of it, so I'll send that. I'll send that it's just right there.
There we go. Got it. Now I know what I'm doing later.
Yeah. So anyway, from the Action Center of Twin. Anyway.
Oh, I have one more update on something that I brought up last week.
And that is
Hot Rod Drag Week 2016 completed about 2 hours ago.
And who broke records and who died doing it?
Nobody died, but there was lots of breakdowns, which is kind of par for the course for this event.
Especially when the weather's been so good, if they're trying to tweak try to get a little more. And okay, but continue.
I think the story of the week was a guy by the name of Jeff Lutz. He races pretty much a pro modified 68 Camaro. And pro modified, for those of you that don't know, is a very, very fast class of professional drag racing. They are notorious for being extremely difficult to drive because they utilize a stock style suspension design. So they don't have really super fancy 4 links or anything on the back half of the suspension. They use a stock style design with struts and whatnot. I don't think they use independent rear suspension. I think they use a live axle, but I think they have to use a stock style, shock and spring package as opposed to some really intricate, 4-link setups or anything like that. But this guy, at the end of day 3, in the middle of the 275-mile drive from Martin, Michigan to Indianapolis, Indiana, he's in this car. And mind you, his car is capable of running roughly 250 miles an hour in the quarter mile, right? This car easily puts out 3,500 horsepower. And he's driving at 1,000 miles in a week. Which, anybody that knows anything about cars, you take a car that's that tuned up, there's bound to be issues if you're driving that highly tuned of an engine that far.
Yeah.
Well, he had a right front shock mount completely break off on the road. He had a pothole.
Figures.
He had a pothole, and the right front shock mount completely broke off, and in the process, it broke the spindle.
Ooh.
And it sheared off the pin that actually mounts the wheel onto the spindle.
Ooh.
And it tore off the brake rotor as well.
Ugh. Not
complete carnage, right? Well, they pieced it back together, limped it to the track. They got there super early in the morning at like 2 a.m. or something like that. Worked all night, right? Worked all through the day. So they effectively got no sleep that night.
Figures, yeah.
And they broke a valve the night before on the road. So they didn't get any sleep because they were rebuilding their valve train the night before. So that's 2 nights worth of sleep. They get the car done with like 25 minutes left to run. 25 minutes later, staging lanes were closed. They could not come up and try to make the run, right?
Yeah.
They get the car done, 25 minutes left. They get to the line. This thing runs a 6.10 seconds at like 240 miles an hour. After literally an hour before that, the car being just in pieces all over the pits.
I know what Matt really wants for a new vehicle when he sells his truck. He's going to want a 68 Camaro.
I would love to have a 68 Camaro, but not a Pro Mod 68 Camaro. That is an easy $250,000.
Okay. Here's something. This goes off. We're going off on tangents, but we're going off on cars. My late father.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is what happened when he decided. This was way before I was born, because before that, but he owned. I can't remember what year it was because, of course, I can't ask him because he's not living anymore. But anyway, he had a 72 or 73 Camaro.
Ooh.
And it was orange. And this is funny. I think he paid $14.
Is this Hugger orange?
What?
Is this Hugger orange?
It's the orange that I see that most Camaros had.
So is that Hugger orange?
Yes. So I would assume it's that color. But anyway, and I have to sit up. But anyway, I don't know if it was a regular Camaro or if it was a Z28 or not. I doubt my father would pay for a Z28, but then, of course, it was the 70s, so he wants to get chicks. I don't know. Or my mother was, before my father and my mother had started dating. But this was, and we're going off on this because my father, I think, wanted to look cool or something. And he did a very good job. He was a produce manager even then. But he then gets into an accident with an uninsured person when a lady runs into the driver's door of his Camaro.
Oh no!
And she wasn't insured. And for like a year, he couldn't use the driver's door because he refused to fix it because it was going to cost too much. And my father sold the Camaro. This is how bad it is. This is not weather related, but this is just how things are, people. He sold it for a Chevy Caprice station wagon.
Wow.
Because my sister was what my mother was pregnant with my sister. It's like, and my father, and this goes back to this, he wanted a Camaro. Again, even though he was old, but he wanted one again.
Right.
And it's like kind of sad because he never got to, because the last car he owned, which actually he didn't own it because the last vehicle he actually owned was the truck that I was partially owned with, because my mother's car was owned by her.
Right.
Her name was first. My father owned half of the truck that I had, which I sold after he died, and now have my Volkswagen, but he always wanted a Camaro, and I always told him, well, why don't you get one? Well, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you have money, go buy one.
Exactly.
And I just don't think he wanted to do it, but I don't know. He always talked about it and that's what I was thinking about when I was going to want to go and test drive cars because I mentioned this with Matt yesterday when we were talking yesterday. I was actually thinking about it at the time, taking my dad's cremains that I have here, because I have a little paperweight here at the house, taking it with me, putting it in the car with me driving it, and having my father there. So then he'd be like in a car or something. I don't know. It sounds really kind of creepy and weird, but oh well. But yeah, we're going off on tangents on that. But yeah, we had to talk about that, and I had to talk about my father's Camaro because he had one. So,
which leads me to my next thing. You know the picture that I sent you of the Hurricane Eyewall? Show the picture right next to it.
Oh, well, wait a minute. I got to go back to it because I got to go back to it just a minute. So just a minute. I have it.
If you don't mind, good sir.
Okay. Whoa, Lordy. I'm getting there. Gonna get down. It takes forever because it's loading now. So let's see. Okay. Now let me screen share this. So let me do some work here. Boom, boom. And now what you're gonna see here is Matt's plaything.
That is my new motorcycle. I made the deal today. I'm going to pick it up next week, probably next Wednesday. It is a 2002 Harley-Davidson Night Train, fairly wildly modified.
I'd say so.
I think the coolest part is the paint. There's green paint in there, obviously. That was done by Big River Customs in the Quad Cities. But the gray flames aren't actually gray. That's actually bare metal that's been clear coated over.
Oh.
So I think that was a really cool effect there.
Hopefully it does better than. Hopefully it runs a lot better than your other bike.
Yes, which right now that one still is not at all. Unfortunately.
I think you should sell it.
No, I'm going to fix it up and I'm going to sell it over the wintertime.
Yeah, so you are selling it.
Eventually.
And then sell your truck, too, while you're at it.
Yeah, package deal, truck and motorcycle.
And then you're going to get a Camaro or a Challenger Hellcat or something.
No, you can't chase very well in 707 horsepower of rear-wheel drive goodness.
Well, okay, then get a granny car. Get a Buick.
No, I don't want a Buick. I want what I told you.
Wait a minute. Okay, before we go on this tangent, because this is going to be weather related. Okay, now it's going to be what vehicles are good chase vehicles?
I've actually thought about this. I've actually put some real thought into this because here in the near future I will be buying a new vehicle, and I want something that I can utilize. I can pick stuff up and put stuff in there and haul it around. I want something that could possibly tow a little bit, small trailer. I want something that is really comfortable because my Ranger just isn't that comfortable anymore. It's 20 years old. It's almost time for it. Its shocks are completely gone. I mean,
mine too. Because his is a Ford Ranger, and our Ford Rangers are like a year apart, and mine were doing the same thing.
Yeah. But one of the other considerations I made was what would be safe while storm chasing, and more specifically, what would be safest in not that. That's too much money. great, but too much money. In a kind of worst case scenario, like El Reno type of situation, what would help me in that situation? And I decided I wanted something that had a little bit of aerodynamics, because if I was facing into the wind, didn't want the wind to affect me as much as a brick, like what Jeff was just screen sharing. That has about the aerodynamic ability of a filing cabinet. I want something that is more than just two-wheel drive, whether front or wheel or rear. And sorry, but said Camaro and said Hellcat are both rear-wheel drive and run on summer tires only.
Yeah.
Summer tires on mud plus 700 horsepower equals bad.
Yeah.
So I wanted something with decent amount of power and torque, so I could, get going quickly once I did get moving. And I wanted something that could handle some mud, have a little bit of ground clearance, have a little bit of a little bit of bite or all-wheel drive capability in mud or dirt or something like that. So I arrived at the car that I'm absolutely in love with, which is the Dodge Durango, the new Dodge Durango. Or I should say the newest generation of Dodge Durango.
Yeah, they're roughly in the same category.
Yeah. The smaller of the two engine options, the 3.7 liter V6, comes from the factory with 295 horsepower and 360 pound-feet of torque. Yes, that, although that's an RT model that you're showing.
Well, too bad.
That has the V8. That has 360 horsepower and 400 some pound-feet of torque, and that's a really great color combination right there. That's amazing. Anyways, it's got a center diff all-wheel drive system, which was made famous in rally racing by Subaru. Subaru WRXs have the same design of center diff all-wheel drive system. Instead of having a transmission and a transfer case that run drive shafts out to the axles, there's only one differential behind the transmission that sends power to all four wheels at the same time. And it's all limited slip, and it's computer controlled. So power and torque goes to the wheel with the most traction. So you essentially maximize your grip without even really thinking about it. It's an SUV, so you can fit stuff in it. You can seat 7 people very comfortably. It has a little bit of ground clearance, so I can get over humps and bumps and stuff like that. I don't have to worry about ripping off bumpers and stuff, like with said Camaro and said Hellcat. Yeah, no. Not so much. It's a big SUV, but with my ex-wife's Durango, her 2014, we have seen as much as 31 miles a gallon doing 75 miles an hour down the highway with that one. And that one comes with all the bells and whistles too that you could ever want. It's got the satellite radio, a ginormous touch screen, dual zone climate control, heated seats, heated steering wheel, heated mirrors. I mean, this is a very, very well-equipped vehicle, and we paid less than $30,000 for that one, brand new. So that's what I think I'm going to go after.
And so, yeah, and then what's going to happen is he won't get it.
I think I will. I have my heart kind of set on it.
The thing I don't like about, because the thing is, I bought a Volkswagen.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, you bought a German car, but it's only because it had a sunroof. But yeah, my car, it's a 5-cylinder car.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of torque. But it's a hatchback,
Right.
so it guzzles gas because it's a 5-cylinder. But it's mainly because of the torque. Because it really, the minute you press the gas pedal, you're off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the good thing about it, because I always hated getting onto highways, on interchanges, getting onto the exit ramps, and you feel like you struggle with my truck because it didn't like going up hills and whatnot. But with this thing, you press the gas pedal and zoom, you're off.
Mm-hmm. It zips around real nicely.
But I've not had decent stuff with any Chrysler product. They're a lot better than they used to be. Durangos now are a lot better. The Dodge Dart is at least decent. A lot of the Dodge and Chrysler products are good now, because about 5-6 years ago they were shit.
Yes, they were.
The Durangos, in honest terms, the previous generation Durangos were pieces of garbage. They were awful.
Which ones were those?
The previous Durangos. I think it's the first generation.
Yeah.
The current generation is what, generation 3?
Mark IV.
So, okay. Because the ones that were really bad were the ones that had the front end that looked like the Ram.
Yeah.
Those tended to be really junky.
Yeah.
The
great thing about the downfall with Dodge, especially with those, the downfall with Dodge was, in almost their entire history, they've always been very infamous for not being able to build a transmission to save their life.
Well,
except for maybe the Torque Flight 727s that came in like the Hemi Cudas and the Hemi Darts in the late 60s during the horsepower wars.
Okay, we got, now I might, because I know he wants the Durango.
Oh boy. But here's the great thing. It's just not my cup of tea.
That's the Grand Cherokee. There's one Chrysler product I'd love to have, a Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want a Jeep Wrangler?
Well,
those things are tanks off-road.
My brother-in-law has one.
Those things are tanks off-road. It's pretty hard to get those stuck. And those are just coming off the factory floor, too. But the great thing that I like about the new generation Dodge Durangos, and I think I've mentioned this before, the transmission that's in these Durangos is an 8-speed automatic with paddle shifters. And it's a true manual. When you're having a manual mode, it's a true manual. You tell the computer when you want to shift. And when it does it pretty quickly. I mean,
so it gets up. It's a manumatic thing. It could be manual or automatic.
Yeah, in essence.
Yep, my car is the same. My car is manumatic too.
The only way that the computer steps in for you is if you have it in top gear and you come to a stoplight and you come to a complete stop. It'll bring it back down to first for you.
The manumatic comes in, where it goes back to, yeah.
It'll go all the way back down to first gear for you.
Yeah.
But that transmission began life in roughly 2008, 2009. This is when they had that really weird mix-up when Fiat went on a car company buying spree. They bought up Lamborghini. They had a stake in Pininfarina, which is the design arm of Ferrari. They bought Daimler Chrysler, and at that same time, Lamborghini was starting research and development for their new top-of-the-line supercar called the Aventador.
No.
And they sourced a company out of, I believe, Germany called Getrag. Getrag, I think is who it was. It was either them or ZF or ZF. which they're famous for. They're most well known for being the company that manufactures transmissions for Formula One.
Yes.
They had quite a few designs on the table for the Aventador, and they went through the weeding out process, and this transmission just wasn't quite what they were looking for. It didn't shift just quite fast enough for them. It was an A+ in every other category, except Lamborghini wanted to have it shift a little faster. So they did away with it, and that transmission design wound up in the hands of Dodge, and that is what is in most Dodge vehicles today, is that 8-speed manumatic.
Yeah.
So you can say that transmission was essentially designed for Lamborghini, but it made its way into Dodge.
Yeah.
So it is a very good transmission. Very good transmission. And I wanted to say hi to one of our viewers, Laura from Indiana, is back today. Super Fangirl is back.
And she's wondering why we're talking about weather and we're talking about cars.
Because this is going to be my next storm chase vehicle.
Yeah, he's going to get a Dodge Durango and it's going to fall apart.
No, it's not. No, it's going to fall apart only if you step foot in it.
What?
Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, well, whatever. Anyway.
I'm just joking, Jeff.
Yeah,
I'm just jerking your chain.
Yeah, he's not going to get in my Volkswagen now.
Oh, so we can't do our other little experiment?
Yeah, well, we might have to do the experiment, but experiment, because this would be the experiment, because we can't do it in Matt's truck now because Matt's truck is falling apart. It's a Dodge Durango wannabe. It just is right now being fixed or repaired daily.
Or fastest on race day.
But yeah, it might be, but it then has to be fixed or repaired daily anyway. And I say that with snideness because I had a Ford Ranger for years. So
comments with love.
I had we'll go back. I'll go back to this after that. The first vehicle I ever owned as a person who owned a vehicle, I had to own everything with my father. The first vehicle I had was a 1988 Dodge Dakota.
Really?
Yeah. That thing guzzled gas so bad.
Did it have the small V8 in it?
I don't know what it had. It had something that guzzled gas.
It was probably that small 318 V8.
I think so. I think it was the only V8 I've ever had. The Ranger I had was a V6, but
yep. Now, was your Ranger the 3-liter or the 4-liter V6?
3.
3? Wow, I have the 4-liter.
Mine was
a big
my Ranger was blue. It was the XL. It had it was the XLT.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine is too. Mine's step side though. I have a step side box.
Ooh.
Yeah, fancy. Fancy.
Yeah, he's fancy. That's why his truck isn't working. My truck, I got rid of it when I did because the check engine light had been on for like 5 years.
Same with mine.
Oh, so you have the same problem. That's the sensor.
Yeah.
The oxygen sensor.
Yep.
Yeah, same thing. I had the same problem. But the car, you couldn't run the air conditioner because it did not like when you run the air conditioner because it doesn't like it. I never.
Yep.
With the truck the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And the shocks would make that noise.
Mine aren't doing that quite yet.
Mine were doing that the last 2 years. They would creak and groan every time you go up bumps if you're going slow. Eventually they'd get themselves worked out that they would do it, but
Once they get them warmed up.
If there was a tornado, if I was driving I'll make this weather related. If I was driving, when I was having the truck, there was a tornado 5 miles from my house, I wouldn't even get my truck to get it because I'd be afraid it could break down. Now, yes, with this car now, the Volkswagen I have now, which I found out now that I've only paid 3 payments on it, and I'm going to probably have to put work into it because the brakes, I think, are suspect.
Uh-oh.
I'll just tell you, the calipers are rusted. That's a sign that those are going to have to be replaced.
The calipers or the rotors?
It looks like it's the calipers and not the rotors.
Oh.
Because the rotors, wow. I know, I'm not very car related, but I do know a lot about brakes because I've had to replace brakes a lot. Let's just say that this is not weather related. We're going off on a tangent. I have actually been in a car that lost brakes.
I have too.
And it's not fun.
I have actually driven, and I'm not proud of this, the first vehicle I had, which was a 95 Ford Ranger.
Oh, God.
I drove that thing for 3 months without brakes.
I drove I had a Corsica, 94 Chevy Corsica, with the brakes went out on it. I had the brakes fixed 3 times. And then the brakes went out. And what was it? The brake line got punctured.
Really?
Lost brake fluid. And I was like, no. I sold that car 2 days later. I was like, no, I'm not putting any money because most of my credit card debt that I racked up was due to car repairs. I had that Corsica. I bought it I bought it in '98 for $4,500. I can understand why it was for $4,500. I had to have the head gasket replaced on it within a month.
Yikes.
And then I come to find out years later that the head gasket had to be replaced again because the first time they didn't do it right. So I had to replace the head gasket twice. I had the brakes fixed 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
I had to have new tires. I blew 2 tires on that car. That car I spent probably close to $3,000 or $4,000 in repairs on that car. And I was like, no, we got to get rid of this thing. And we got rid of it, got the Ranger. And the Ranger was going to become the same way lately. It was going to have a lot of problems with it. And I was like, nope, I don't want to do it. So I bought this Volkswagen. Well, now I'm going to run into the same problem again. But, I mean, you could get a Dodge Durango, the new one, at least go have a warranty, because my mother had several issues with her Nissan that she got new. And she got them fixed. She's getting her oil changes for free until her loan is paid off, which isn't for another 4 years. So she gets her oil changes for free. She has to have them done at the dealership in Cedar Rapids, which is actually
right.
But
right.
I thought anything, because I thought if a Durango didn't work for you, maybe a Jeep Grand Cherokee or one of those 4-door Wranglers that they have, because they have these Wranglers now that are four doors that are spiffy, but you just have to. We may end up, if we do this, that if we're going to do these testing things, we're going to be Matt drives cars. We could do a test where we do like what vehicle is the best, and we go like the dealerships, but we'd have to do it on a Sunday because we don't want to have dealer people coming after us or something. Like we're live at this dealership, which we're not going to mention where it is, except we probably mention where it is, but that would be interesting to do that. Oh
yeah, we could do car reviews.
Well, car reviews, weather related, but anyway. Oh, and then the other thing too, because that we'd have to probably think about too, is doing fall foliage tours.
Ooh.
The best places to go up here, because by the time you listen to this show, you won't be able to go there. All I'll tell you is you need to go to Bright Box in Balltown.
I agree.
That is I went there last year, and then we went on the cloudiest and most rainiest day. It was raining. It was awful. colors weren't that brilliant. All of northeast Iowa into southwest Wisconsin is really nice. As far south on the Mississippi as maybe about Mississippi Palisades State Park in north of Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been up there several times. I took my then girlfriend there when I was dating her back in high school. I took her over there. That was the funny thing. I took my girlfriend at the time on a date, and we ate at McDonald's in Clinton, Mississippi Palisades, in Savannah. It's like,
wow.
and this is how dorky I am. This is not weather. This is way off weather unrelated. Except this was senior prom, so this was like a couple days before May 3rd, 99. So there's their weather related. But anyway,
there you go.
I went to prom, so I took my girlfriend and one of her friends because I went with two girls.
Ooh.
Yeah, we went, and I was like, we're not going to eat in Cedar Rapids. There's people that will be there. So where did I go? I went to Dubuque. And then I'm like, ooh, let's take a trip into Wisconsin and Illinois. So we went around and then drove back to prom. So
wow.
our prom, we went through 3 states. We
did a
3-state
prom drive.
And then this has nothing to do with weather because this is off topic because we've gone off topic. There is a picture of me at prom at the community center down the street from where you live now of me dancing with at least 7 or 8 girls surrounding me. There is a picture. I have never seen it. I remember it because I was in it. But I remember it. I didn't know somebody took a picture. And somebody said, oh my God, because they couldn't believe it. But anyway, that has nothing to do with that. It was
Jeff
before
Wilcox, the lady killer.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, 99. So the sucky thing about that was that May 3rd happened. And that event was what May 3rd was on. I'm going to go back. May 3rd
was a Friday, wasn't it?
No.
I thought it was a Friday.
Well, guess what? I'm going to go back. I'm going to go look it up. May 3rd, 1999 was a Monday.
Oh.
My prom was on May 1st into May 2nd.
Yikes.
Because I remember it was right. The only funny thing is that the prom was the power went out.
Really?
It went out like near the end of prom, around like 11 o'clock or 11:30. It went out, and I was at and we went to post prom after that. And I was up until 4:30 in the morning on Sunday, the 2nd.
Nice.
Even if I wanted to go and do severe weather tornado things, I'd have to skip school.
Yeah.
Would I have loved to skip school in 1999? Oh hell yes.
Right.
But what would I have done? I had my Corsica. Remember Corsica? Oh my God, it's broken Corsica? It wasn't as broken as it was later. But
either oh my God, it's broken, or oh my God, it's burning to the ground.
Well, no, I've never had but if I'd known that May 3rd was going to be as bad as it was, I would have gone. I would have said screw school.
Me too.
But I was too. I wouldn't have had enough money to be able to drive down there anyway. Because by that point in May, I wasn't working. So, because I was going to be preparing to go to Iowa State that fall. So.
Oh, gotcha.
But
I think it's time for me to end this.
Yeah, because we're
end this thing.
Yes, because Matt wants to go to the bar.
No, I don't know what I'm going to do.
He wants to go to bed.
I might.
So we're going to end it now because I think we've overstayed our welcome with all our viewers.
Yeah, right.
So thanks for joining us. Next week we're going to probably talk about more cars and more tornadoes or lack thereof. Hopefully we have something weather related to talk about or some such thing.
And more hurricanes and more.
Then I'll probably complain about something else.
Yep,
so.
we will find something else to rant about. It will be another 4.5 hour long show.
And I'll still complain that then this goes back to the beginning, that I lost a Jeff Bagwell baseball card.
Yes.
You have to get it back to the beginning. So anyway, So thanks for joining us. We'll hopefully be around next week so you can hear more from the enormous UFO Superstar Show extravaganza. Exciting. Yeah. And goodbye. So long.
Bye-bye.